Hi Year 6, this is your Tuesday, the 9th of February English lesson. So just to recap and remind you what we're doing this week, we're thinking about first aid and we're writing an instructional guide. So like I said, you would normally have had a day's first aid training, but unfortunately we can't do that at the moment. So there's this fantastic website that you can look at, St John's Ambulance, and you can watch the videos of how to treat different first aid emergency situations. So you're going to need to watch this. I don't expect you to know how to do it. You're going to need to watch these and maybe get a member of your family to act it out with you. So you can see that somebody needs to be the person that is treating and someone needs to be the casualty. Something that I talked about yesterday that I want to show you a little bit more of is adverbial phrases. Now we talked about this yesterday a little bit, but I'm not sure that people will be confident. Some of you will use them without realising, but I just want to teach you a little bit about what adverbial phrases are. So an adverbial phrase is two or more words that tells us more about a verb or an adjective. They appear as part of a sentence. The most important bit is they tell us how, where, when, how long, or why. And they don't make sense on their own. So it's something like, before treating your casualty, put on a pair of sterile gloves. Okay, so that's telling us how you need to treat your casualty. Or something like, do not remove an object from the wound as it may be acting as a plug. And that's telling us why you don't remove an object from the wound. Okay, so let's have a little look and see if you can pick out the adverbial phrases from each of these sentences. So freeze the video and have a look. Okay, and see if you can do that. So luckily they're in a different colour. With a smiling face, he accepted the award. So that's telling us how he accepted the award. The he accepted the award makes sense on its own, but the with a smiling face tells us how. So that's an adverbial phrase. Okay. Milo likes to sleep on his master's bed, and that tells us where. She could just say Milo likes to sleep. Okay. But this tells us he likes to sleep on his master's bed, so it tells us where, so it's an adverbial phrase. Okay. For 8 years, she waited for a rescue ship. Goodness me, that's a long time. So she waited for a rescue ship, makes sense on its own. The for 8 years tells us how long. So that's an adverbial phrase. And here, he would not do a bungee jump. Well, I don't know whether we need to know why. I think it's quite obvious. I wouldn't either. He would not do a bungee jump because of the danger. And again, that's an adverbial phrase telling us why. Okay, so we're going to try and use some of those in our writing. So let's have a look. I've done a little bit more writing from yesterday on my guide over here. So I've got my introduction, how to treat a severe bleed. Okay, so we've got when bleeding is severe, it can be dramatic and distressing. If someone's bleeding is not controlled quickly, it can lead to the casualty developing a life-threatening condition called shock. So all of that is telling us why. If someone develops a bleed, a cut that's bleeding, and it's not treated quickly, it can lead to them going into shock. Okay, so we need different subheadings. So before treatment, what do I need to do? So before I go near to my casualty, so I've done a little bit of writing already. I've got approach your patient with caution, ensuring that you check the area for danger. Remove the cause of the injury and check the area is safe. It is very important to check that your casualty is responsive, because if they become unconscious, you must call emergency services immediately. So there we go, lots and lots of description telling us why you need to do certain things. Okay, so this is all before treatment. The other thing that you need to do, so I'm going to write before treating a casualty with a major bleed. Put on clean, sterile gloves. We could even say medical gloves. Okay. This is to ensure you and do not develop an infection So I've got things like my imperative verbs, put, okay, remove, approach. So those are my imperative verbs, okay, which are telling people what to do, a very key part of an instructional guide, okay. Things like you could develop an infection, or you should wear surgical gloves, those are your modal verbs. Thinking a bit more about layout, I'm going to do some warnings down here. Okay, I'm going to do a little section here. So I'm going to put always wear gloves. And something else that I've learnt from watching the videos is you should never pull any object out from the wound. Okay, you should leave an object in the wound. Okay, so I'm going to write never pull an object from the wound. Okay, it may be acting as a plug. So that means it's stopping the bleeding. Okay, and again I'm using adverbial phrases to tell us why we're doing something. Okay, so I want you to write the next section of your report, please, year 6. Well, it's not a report, sorry, a guide. I want you to write the next section of your instructional guide. It is quite similar to your report, but write the next section of your guide saying all the things that you need to do before you start approaching your casualty. Okay, think about any top tips. Think about the next section of your guide. Okay, year 6. Again, anything that you're worried about, any questions that you've got, you can ask in the Zoom meetings. Okay, good luck.